Hello and welcome. My name is Tracy. Thanks so much for joining me. Today we're going to make this great card. Okay, the supplies that will be needed for this card are inks, a Tranquil Tide, Sahara Sand, Versamark, and because we're embossing, we've got the Embossing Buddy, the Stampin' Up! Clear Embossing Powder, the Heat Tool. The stamp set that we're using is Colourful Seasons, and we're using this one here and just the little one here, and the Seasonal Layers Thinlits dies. This can be bought as a bundle, but these are the two dies that we're using. You also need the piercing mat because it is photopolymer. The piercing mat just gets it a better, clearer stamp. We've got the finely woven ribbon in Tranquil Tide. We're also using the basic Jules Rhinestones. Adhesives, we've got Fast Fuse, Mini Glue Dots, Tombow Mono Multi, and we're using the Craft Silicone Sheet, as well as a Stampin' Sponge. Got the bone folder, paper snips, piercing tool, and the aqua brush. I have Sahara Sand card base, and that's just half a piece of A4 cut in half, scored in half. Fresh fig piece. This is 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. Then we have a piece of shimmery white cardstock, which is 5 by 3 1/2. And then another piece of shimmery white cardstock, which is 3 by 1 inch. And with the ribbon, I have 7 inches of the finely woven Tranquil Tide ribbon. So with the card base, I'm just going to fold and score using the bone folder. Put that aside. Now the Tranquil Tide, the fresh fig is a matting, but we're also going to cut these two images out in the mat so we're not wasting card. So what I'll do is I'm going to bring the Big Shot in and bring our two dies in. You just want to cut them out from the middle. Run that one through. Okay, so they're all right to go. We're just going to move those ones to the side, and we'll bring in our two pieces of shimmery white cardstock. I'm just going to hit them both with the Embossing Buddy. Because we are embossing both of those pieces, you want the Embossing Buddy to come in, make sure there's no static. On the little piece, we're using the sentiment, "You Make Me Smile," which is this one just here. So bringing the Versamark in, and this one we're actually going to be using the Tranquil Tide, because if you look at it, it's the Tranquil Tide, but it's also shimmery. In the Versamark first, then the Tranquil Tide, lining it up. Hopefully I didn't get my head in then. And then we're going to bring in the embossing powder. I just keep mine in a container. I just find it easier than those little pots. Put that one to the side while we do the other one. So for this one, we've got the background. I don't know how well you can see that. I've stamped them, embossed them, and then we're going to put the water wash over the top. So let's go ahead with that. I started off with the larger leaf stamp here first. It's always easier to use the larger one first and then come in with the smaller stamps. Okay, so I'm going to put one here, one over here, and you can see if you tilt it to the side, you can see where you've stamped. So another one here, and I think that should do. I'll bring the smaller maple leaf in. Going to do one up here and one down here. Powder back in, Embossing is one of my favourite techniques. It's always magical when you heat it up. Gorgeous. Now the heat tool, if you haven't seen it before, this is the Stampin' Up one. It has two settings. The first setting is for using on vellum. So if you're heat embossing onto vellum, or if you're just drying your card when you're watercolouring. The second one is to emboss. So you want to put it straight onto 2 and leave it for a couple of seconds just to warm the machine up before you hit your paper. The other thing is this gets very, very hot, so be careful not to burn yourself. Okay. Now some people will emboss from underneath. Because this is a little bit thicker, I'll go on top. If you just hit it on the back, it will stop it from warping too much. I'm also going to bring in the smaller piece as well and do that one while we're here. So that's it. Nice and shiny. Beautiful. Okay, so now we're going to bring the Sahara Sand ink pad in. And what we're going to do is we want a little bit of ink on this side. So to get the ink, close it up, push down. And when you open it up, you'll have a nice little bit of ink inside. Okay. So with the aqua brush, it has water in the barrel. And you're just going to squeeze it to get it a little bit in this barrel here. There we go, and it just comes out. So what we'll do is we're just going to add a couple of drops in here, just to give it a bit more of a wash effect. And we're just going to hit it all along. We don't want to do the whole part, but you want to highlight those embossed parts that we have done. Just like that. What we're going to do is we're going to bring the heat tool back in. We're going to dry that off. Now that's dried it enough that if we put another layer on, it'll bring a bit more colour. We won't do quite as much. We're just going to go over it a little bit more. Heat it up again. See how you can see the different coloured layers on top of each other? I love that look. Like that. I'll put that to the side because we're going to have a few minutes for that to dry anyway. Bring in the little sentiment. Just going to do that similar too. Now the green, because it is just a normal ink pad, will bleed a little bit, even though it's been heat set. I don't really mind. I think you can see this one on here. It's bled in a little bit and mixed in with the brown. I didn't mind that. I thought that looked quite cute. Okay, so I'm just going to heat this one up again. Now just to be mindful when you're heating up your embossed bit, you don't want to burn your embossing, so you don't want to leave it on for too long or anything like that. Beautiful. Bring the card base back in. What I'm first going to do is stick this straight down. So I'm going to bring my fast fuse in, stick this matting straight down. I'm sitting down today, so I'm not sure whether I'm completely in the camera all the time, so if I'm not, I apologise. Okay, this one's not quite completely dry, so I might just quickly heat that one. Beautiful. Now the shimmery white cardstock has a shimmer to it. It's absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so we're going to just stick this one straight down as well. Now I didn't say before, because I forgot, but all the measurements for this card can be found on my blog. The blog can be found in the description of this video. As well, in the description you can find my online store. So any and all of these supplies can be found and purchased in my online store. So now we've got this all down. What we're going to do is we're going to stick these down, and this is where I showed it in my last video as well. We're bringing the silicone craft sheet in. We're just going to pop a little bit of the Tombow Mono Multi Glue and the Stampin' Sponge. We're just going to lay it down and dab on this glue. Alright, pick her up, just going to pop it down there like that. And there it is. Thought I lost it. I'll pick up what's left over. Not a lot there, so I'll just bring in the Tombow glue, stick some down on it. Alright. These two colours are just gorgeous. Well, all three colours are gorgeous, but I love the Sahara Sand and the Fresh Fig. So now we have the Tranquil Tide finely woven ribbon, and that's just going to go in like this, and I'm going to use glue dots to stick them down. So using the paper piercer, just going to pull in underneath, and I like to stick one down so it keeps it like that, and then I'm going to stick another one just underneath there. And you don't really have to stick the ends down because you're sticking the sentiment down over the top, but I like that extra bit. Okay, and we're just going to stick the sentiment down. Now on this one I just used the mini glue dots as well. I think I might bring in dimensionals just for something different. See how that looks. Just going to stick 3 dimensionals. Oh. Down, take the backings off. Oh, that looks pretty. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do is we're just going to bring in some basic rhinestones, and I've used a bigger one. Now the new rhinestones don't have these little strips, but I've still got some of the older ones left, so I'll use these ones up first. So I'm going to put a big one down here, a medium size just there, and a smaller one up top like that. And that's it. What do you think? I think they turned out lovely. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'd love it if you left a comment and subscribed.